Swedish prosecutors are expected to interrogate the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange in London. At issue are allegations of rape from 2010, but prosecutors have yet to question him. Assange sought refuge at the Ecuadorian embassy in 2012 after the UK's Supreme Court decided to extradite him to Sweden. Assange denies the allegations and says if he leaves the embassy, he'll eventually be sent to the United States, which wants to prosecute him for leaking top-secret documents. Let's get more on this and speak to our reporter, Sara Firth, who is live for us in London. Sara, remind us a bit of background to this. What exactly are these sexual abuse allegations, and why has it taken 6 years to question him until today?
Well, it's been an extremely long process, and there's been a lot of diplomatic and legal wrangling that's gone on over those 6 years. Now, in 2012, Julian Assange sought asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy. He was in breach of a warrant to extradite him to Sweden. He's always said that his fear was that he would then face extradition on to the United States. Now, for many years, you've had calls from Julian Assange's legal team and from Ecuadorian officials for the Swedish prosecutors to do exactly what is happening today, which is to come to the country to carry out the interview. But even getting to this point has been quite problematic. You've had a lot of back and forth. It's finally taking place today. And I spoke to the Swedish prosecutor's office just a short time ago. They told me that the interview is going to go ahead at around 10 o'clock local time this morning, so in just under an hour's time. But what they said was the Swedish authorities are just there to listen and observe what Julian Assange has had to say. They've already submitted their questions. They're not going to be able to ask any follow-up questions. And they also told me that the Ecuadorian officials that are going to be there overseeing this process are then going to be submitting a report to the Swedish authorities, and at that point the Swedish prosecuting authorities will make a decision whether or not to continue with the investigation, possibly actually press charges, or to drop the investigation altogether.
And are we expected to hear anything, any outcome from today's questioning? And then what? I mean, what are the next steps in the investigation?
Well, that is really the big question, and for a long time you've had Julian Assange's legal team placing the blame pretty firmly on the Swedish prosecuting authorities, saying that it's taken too long, the investigation has dragged on. The Swedish prosecuting authorities have always maintained that they didn't want the investigation to be compromised in any way. They have, it seems, reached the compromise by coming today, going through this process where you'll have this interview being carried out by an Ecuadorian official. And then, of course, the big question is, what happens next? Are you going to see formal charges brought? Because remember, there have never been formal charges brought against Julian Assange over these allegations made some 6 years ago now. So it has been a very long process, and I think everyone watching, it's unlikely you'll get a statement today from the Swedish authorities. The next step very likely will be when the Swedish authorities receive that report on today's interview, and whether they make a decision then, as we said, to continue the investigation and possibly press charges or drop the investigation altogether. Either way, though, it's hoped that today really will be a step forward, and it's certainly seen as a new development in what's been a bit of a stalemate situation.
OK, we're going to have to wait and see. Sarah, many thanks for that. Sara Firth in London.